All right, guys, how are you doing? I'm hoping that you guys are doing all right. Listen, I want to today's session, I just want to talk about, something that I mentioned before. If anybody knows me, they know that, at a certain point in my life, I was working in sales and I hit a bit of a wall, and some of the goals that I wanted to achieve in terms of wealth and things like that, I realized that the vehicle that I was in, I wasn't going to be able to accomplish the goals the way that I wanted them to. And, many of those goals had to do with money, and they especially had to do with how I was able to spend my time and how much freedom I actually had. So one of the books that was able to help me make a huge shift, from a mindset perspective and how it is that I look at wealth was a book by MJ Demarco called The Millionaire Fastlane. And, this is a great book that I recommend. And what I've done is I've taken the three biggest lessons out of this book. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because I really think that it will be worthwhile if we were able to go through this. So let's just get to it right away. So just a little bit about the book. It's written by MJ Demarco, right? And even though the name is very catchy, sounds like a get-rich-quick sort of a book, The Millionaire Fastlane, it's actually not, at all. It's actually quite stoic of a book. The author's story is basically about how when he was young, when he was a teenager, he saw a guy, pull up to the gas station in a Lamborghini Countach, and he went up to that guy and he asked him, he said, and the guy was young, like in his mid-20s, and he asked him, he said, how is it that you are able to get so rich? What do you do for a living? And the guy looked at him and the guy said that I'm an inventor, right? So ever since then, he decided that he wanted to be rich, and he knew that he was going to be creating something, right? So this book is kind of a critique of the traditional path to wealth, which is the standard sort of thing that everybody gets told that they should do, includes basically going to school, getting a degree, getting a high-paying job, and then saving, for your retirement, right? And, that's a slow and steady way, of getting wealthy, and it's tried and true and it's tested. The only problem is that you're probably going to be driving a Lamborghini Countach when you're 70 years old, as opposed to the author who was able to retire at the age of 33 as a multi-millionaire. So there's basically three, major lessons that we can take out of this book. Lesson number one is that wealth means three things, and none of them are money. Lesson number two is that at some point you must make your income independent of your time. And then number three is that you have to think like a producer, not a consumer. So like I said, these were the three lessons that helped me sort of make a huge shift in my mentality about how it is that I look at money. So moving on. So lesson number one, wealth means three things and none of them are money. Okay? So according to the author, his definition of wealth is that true wealth means three things. The first is meaningful relationships with family and friends. The second is being healthy and physically fit. And the third is freedom. Okay, so I'm sure that nobody will really disagree with these things. Obviously, it's all about friends and family. Studies have shown that, 80% of our happiness and satisfaction in life actually comes from the relationships that we have from people or with people, and not necessarily the material things that we own. Okay, obviously, if you're not healthy and physically fit, right, then you can't really be wealthy. I mean, you don't want to be like a multi-billionaire who's, sitting there on life support, right? You don't have the health or the vitality to be able to enjoy your money. I don't think that anybody would, classify that person as being truly wealthy, And then the last thing is freedom, If you're like a doctor or something, God bless doctors, right? If you're making, you're a specialist, you're making $500,000-$600,000 a year, right? But you're working 14, 15 hours a day, and you hardly have any time to spend with your friends and family, and it's affecting your health, or stressing you out, then maybe that means that you're not truly wealthy as well. Okay? So for the first two, relationships with family and friends and being healthy, we don't actually need money for those. right? But for the final thing, for freedom, we definitely need money. The reason why is because money can't necessarily buy us health or relationships, but it can buy you a lot of freedom. Okay? You can, have the freedom to do whatever hobbies you choose, to own the things that you want, to go the places where you want to go. You have the freedom of deciding how it is that you spend your time. You have the freedom of being able to spend all of your time with your friends and family. And that's why to be truly wealthy, we have to solve the money problem. And this is where I sort of hit a wall in my life. I kind of got to the point where my income was entirely dependent on the efforts that I was, doing on a day-to-day basis. And what I mean by that is because I was in commission sales, I woke up one day and I realized that I'm in a spot where, I started zero basically every single day, and that put a lot of pressure on me. Every single day I would wake up and I would be wondering where my next sale is going to be coming from. And the truth is, somehow those sales ended up coming from somewhere, right? But those sales ended up coming from somewhere, but it wasn't without stress, okay? And I realized that, there's only one of me. And if I'm making $100,000 a year, working as hard as I can, how am I going to make 10 times as much or 20 times as much? Because that's how much money I actually wanted to make, right? So I knew that I needed to find a different vehicle. And when I read this book and another book called, there's Think and Grow Rich was a book that changed my life. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad was another book that helps to shift to the mindset of being a producer rather than a consumer. And so, wealth can give us freedom to do what we want, right? And that's why it's important to solve the money problem, okay? All right, lesson number 2. Your income eventually can't depend on your time anymore. So this is exactly what I was saying, okay? We have to stop linking our income to our hourly wage, because the way that we look at it, we think that, okay, if we want to make more money, we have to work more hours. But there's only so many hours that we can possibly make. If we keep looking at it that way, our income is invariably capped, right? Another way of looking at it is, if I want to make more income, I need to start earning more money per hour. Well, there's a limit to how much money per hour you can make as well, I mean, very few of us are making $1,000 an hour or $10,000 an hour. There's not that many jobs out there, and you need to be very, very valuable to be earning a wage like that, right? So how is it that we disassociate our income to our hourly wage, right? So the idea here is that we want to become financially independent, right? One definition of being wealthy is how long you're able to survive if you were to lose your job. So most people can only last about 3 months before, they are, out on the streets. And the reason why it's 3 months is because that's how long it takes for the bank to foreclose on their mortgage. So if you stopped earning an income, how long would you be able to survive before you would be out on the streets? Now, somebody that is financially independent, what that means is they have enough money coming from passive sources of income that your living expenses are paid for. Somebody who's financially independent is considered wealthy. The reason why is because he or she can survive indefinitely if they were to lose their job. The reason why is because if they've got money coming from passive income sources, so that means that they've got recurring revenue somehow, whether they lose their job or not, it doesn't matter, because that income keeps coming in. And if that income is enough to pay all of their expenses, then they literally never have to work again. And being financially independent is a very, very noble goal, because it's going to free our time and it's going to allow us to reach our potential and do what it is that we were really put on this earth to do, whatever that might be for each of us, okay? So how do you do this? How do you separate your time from your money? Well, what you have to do is you have to focus on businesses that are going to produce recurring revenues for you, all right? So examples of businesses like this would be writing books. Somebody writes a book, they spend a lot of time on it. Maybe, it takes them a year or something to write that book. Once that book is published, though, every time that book is sold, until the copyrights are gone, which is a long way from then, like probably after the author dies. They're going to be getting a royalty on every single book that is sold. So they do the work once, and then they keep getting paid for it for the rest of their life, you know? So when you look at how much they're earning on a per hour basis, you know, it just keeps increasing and increasing. Like the amount of money that they're earning on a per hour basis is tremendous. Maybe it took them 6 months to write the book, and they were working, say, 4 hours a day, you know? So it took them maybe 5,000 or 6,000 hours to write the book, but now they get paid for the rest of their lives for that book, okay? The next is commercial real estate, you know, or multifamily apartment owning, right, or investing. Basically what this is purchasing real estate for the purpose of renting it out, you know, and the idea is that all of the expenses, including the mortgage and everything, are paid for by the rental income that's generated by the property itself, okay? And so the rental income pays for the mortgage as well as the expenses, and then there's a little bit extra, which is your profit, right? And the reason why that's a recurring revenue is because people pay their rents every single month, and they're usually pretty consistent with their rents, you know? And that is a very, very common way of getting wealthy. In fact, I think there's a statistic, it's like 7 or 8 out of 10 millionaires in the world make their first million from real estate, okay? So that's definitely a way to go. The issue with that is that you definitely need to have a little bit of capital to invest in the first place, you know? So, you know, investing in real estate is something that I've personally done, you know, and made a little bit of money on, thankfully. But, you know, I know there's people out there that say that, oh, you know what, you can buy real estate with zero down and all that stuff. But that, you know, I've looked into some of those, and I don't think it's as realistic. If you really want to invest in real estate for the purpose of generating income, you're going to need some capital, okay? Next is e-commerce. You know, maybe you work hard on putting a website together, and then you create like a sales funnel or something where you're consistently driving traffic to that website. And you put the work in up front to make that sales funnel to get that traffic diverted towards your website or your landing page or whatever. And then after that, it's automated. You know, it works for you 24 hours a day. And whenever somebody purchases it or your product or service, you end up making a little bit of money, okay? So that's obviously a form of passive income. Another type of business that can produce passive income for you and help you get financially independent is network marketing or multi-level marketing or direct selling, whatever you want to call it. And I know that this has a bad, a lot of people, you know, think very negatively about network marketing, and it's got sort of a stigma attached to it. But in my opinion, you know, for the ordinary person, this is one of the most, lucrative and sort of one of the opportunities out there that has a lot of potential. The reason why is because, you know, most businesses are successful if they have a system. You know, when a person buys a franchise, the reason why they're paying that franchise fee is because they're buying into a system that franchise has already created that, you know, is going to vastly improve the chances of the business being successful. You know, most businesses fail. The reason why is because they don't have a system in place like that. Franchises, though, have a much higher success rate than other businesses. And the reason why is because they have that system. Now, network marketing allows people to get into a business and get access to a system like that is tried and tested for a very low barrier of entry. Usually you can get into a network marketing business for like a couple $100, you know? And then because of the structure of the business, you know, it allows you to sort of compound, you know, yourself and duplicate yourself in a way so that you can truly create a large business. You know, one of the only people that I know who is under the age of 40 and is truly financially independent, you know, is somebody who did it in network marketing. You know, he makes an income of over $250,000 a year, you know, and he did it off of a network marketing business that he's been working on slowly for 15 years, you know? And I know the guy, it's not like he was breaking his back. He was just working part-time on it, you know? And so network marketing is a tremendous opportunity. as well. Okay, next, dividend paying stocks. Okay, a person can own shares in stocks that pay a dividend, right? This is usually not as lucrative, and once again, you need capital to be able to do this, but this is the ultimate form of passive income because you literally don't have to do anything. You don't have to find property, you don't have to deal with tenants, you don't have to do any of that. You're purchasing a share in a company that's being professionally managed by a team of executives, and then you get your cut off of that every quarter, every month. So the next is owning businesses that can be managed. So say, for example, I want to start buying franchises, Subway franchises, and after owning one of them, I know how to run that franchise so well that I can buy 2 or 3 other franchises and have assistant managers working over there, and I'm just overseeing those managers, So I've kind of disconnected myself from having to work on the business hands-on. I'm just running the business from a management standpoint, and I've got other people that are putting hours into it, okay? So that's another form of, passive income as well. And then we can't forget content creation, So these days, producing content is huge. There's a tremendous opportunity in producing content. Gary Vee once said that there's not a single problem that you face right now that can't be solved by producing more content, okay? A person puts a video on YouTube, once they've got enough videos on YouTube and enough likes and views, they're able to monetize their YouTube channel, and then from that point on, every time somebody watches their video, they make a little bit of money. My kids watch videos of guys playing, with toys or playing video games with their kids, and these guys are making millions of dollars just videotaping themselves playing video games with their kids. And so there's a tremendous opportunity out there. So who's an example of somebody that was able to produce recurring revenue for themselves? Look at J.K. Rowling. It took her years to write the first Harry Potter novel. After she wrote that novel, she was met with a lot of obstacles along the way. Many of the publishers that she tried to get to publish her book were not willing to actually publish the book for her. And so she had to try a few publishers before somebody was willing to take the chance and publish that book. The rest is history. She's now the richest woman in the world and is a billionaire. All right, lesson number 3, start producing and stop consuming, okay? So the average mentality of the person, or the average person, is to be a consumer of goods, okay? And this is just simply because from a very young age, we've been taught, that what we're supposed to do is spend money, whether it's on TV, whether you look online, whether you're listening to the radio, or you go outside and you look at billboards, everywhere you see advertisements that are giving you ideas on how you can spend your money. And so people are taught that, let me earn this money so that I can spend it, right? So as long as your mentality is like that, let me earn this money so that I can spend it, you will never ever be able to be wealthy. The reason why is because you have the mentality of a consumer, and you have to flip that around and start thinking as a producer, okay? So rather than devoting your time and your money thinking of ways that you can consume more goods, you need to devote your time and your money thinking of ways that you can produce goods for other people to consume, And once you make that shift and start thinking about it that way, it's going to be a lot easier for you to start coming up with projects and ideas and creating things that are going to start producing recurring revenues for you, So like I said, with myself, I worked in sales. I started at zero every day. I made good money over, a 20-year career in sales, almost 6 figures every single year over that 20-year period. I was able to make some investments. Those investments appreciated, and I did okay. But I realized that if I want to be making the type of money that I really want to be making and still be able to have the time to spend with my family and my wife and my kids, who are the most important people in the world to me, then I'm going to have to change my vehicle. And, that's when I decided that from this point on, whenever I was going to take on any new project to do with money, if I was going to be starting a new business or anything like that, it had to go through the filter of, is this the type of business that I put a lot of work in initially and then get paid forever on. And if it's not the type of business that I'm going to keep getting paid forever on, then, then it probably it's not right for me, and I need to look for something else. Okay. One final note, I forgot to mention over here. I've listed all the businesses that, and these are obviously not all the businesses. There's other businesses out there as well, such as affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is when you partner up with somebody else that has a product, and you divert traffic to that product. Whenever somebody purchases that product, then you make a commission, and that can also be a form of passive income. Okay, so to conclude, the fast lane to being a millionaire is not easy. It's not a get-rich scheme, but it has more to do with changing your mindset than anything else. So you've got to start spending your time and money on businesses that can start generating recurring revenues for you. And when those revenues are greater than your living expenses, you're officially wealthy because you no longer have to go to work anymore. And a bit of a side note on this, so there's two sides to the coin. One is you have to increase your passive income so that it meets your living expenses. The other side of the coin is if you can reduce your living expenses and cut the crap out of the money that you waste, that's going to make it so that you can get to being financially independent a lot quicker. And like I said, I believe that financial independence is a goal that everybody should have. Okay, and so the idea is you want to be able to survive indefinitely without having to work again. Imagine that feeling. Imagine having to wake up and knowing that you don't have to go to work at all ever again. And you can spend your life doing whatever you think your greatest contribution to this world is going to be, And I think that that is a very, very noble goal for everybody.